33. Today, this afternoon, we're going to work on the neck, and it's got a couple of there are a couple of principles that can be applied to the neck that make it kind of accessible. So I'm going to start us out with thinking through some of the basic ideas that occur in the neck. So one of the ideas, obviously, one of the main principles for a person to understand when drawing the neck is a cylinder. And let's do a couple of cylinders to get ourselves warmed up. Okay, the cylinder, so what we're going to do is, as is usual, we're going to lay out a couple of different overlapping idea structures. So the cylinder that the neck is, that expresses the neck, I'd like to think of it as a little bit more of like a piece of macaroni. I'd like to think of it like kind of turned like that. All right. And these two lines here, where we have this line and this line, they lead me to the next principle that I want to talk about. The next principle that I want to talk about is this shape. And this shape is very much like the shape of a leaf. It's a lot like the shape of an eye. I'm really interested in graphic shapes that I'm really interested in graphic shapes that repeat over and over and over again, and kind of pushing towards pushing towards skill with expressing those shapes. So this shape is kind of a fun shape in that it's just a line this way and a line this way, and there are a couple of different ways we can think to make it. You could put a couple of dots and do an arc and an arc, or you could even just stretch it and stretch it. Another thing you could do is you could think of passing through. You could think of the bottom of a circle passing through, all of which end you there. This shape is also a lot like a kind of a fish body. Like if you come through, you have this little fish body, and this shape will come into play for us kind of soon. Okay. Another shape I wanted to address is the shape of a cross. Okay, it's another really significant graphic shape, and in the case that we're going to be using, is going to look like this. And you can even put a little diamond right there. It's kind of like a little dagger, but every dagger is a cross, right? We can think of a sword with this little diamond encrusted in its hilt. And this shape is really significant for understanding the neck. And another shape that's really significant, there are a couple more concepts that are really significant. I want to take this shape and I want to have you think of it kind of like the shape of a beaker. Like if you take a cylinder and you take a bigger cylinder, and then you take a little bit of a smaller cylinder, and then you curl around like this, and you curl around. So this is like one of those beakers from science class from Chem Lab, where it grows towards the bottom, like that. And another shape that I wanted to think about was well, let's practice that shape a tiny little bit. We'll just take that shape and we can turn it. And another shape that I wanted to talk to you guys about is the shape of a tree, and especially at where a tree comes to the ground. Like when a tree comes to the ground, you'll notice it's a cylinder that passes down, and when it comes into the ground, it really widens out for the roots, and then the roots go down and they grab into the ground like that. So all of these are shapes that you can practice and shapes that you can think about, and all of them play into our upcoming understanding of the neck, okay? So I'm going to go there, and give myself a new layer. Okay, here we go. Okay, so here's our first neck, and it's going to be built on a cross. We've got a cross right here. And here's the head, and I'm just going to take the head and I want to make it just like a helmet, okay? And at the base of the neck, you have these roots that come out just like on a tree structure, and they grab hold at this line here. And you'll notice embedded in this shape is this guy. Okay. And when we see the neck in side view, one of the things that's going to happen is the neck will go like this. It turns into a little bit more of a macaroni, like that. And here I'm going to cover it with this helmet. And here's where that diamond is. And this is kind of a female neck, And to turn it into a male neck, if you thicken it, goes a long ways into turning it to a male neck. So when you have this cylinder and you have this shape, like this, the head can lean this way or this way, and you'll see that if we take this cylinder and we bend it back like that, so a person's neck is going way back like this, there will be a crease, a set of creases that will emerge from right there. And if we take the cylinder and bend it way forward, what happens is there's a set of creases that happen right there. So this is our sort of famous squash and stretch, right? We work from we're always looking for that little dynamic, the dynamic of the squash and stretch. And the way that I like to think about it with the neck is if I'm drawing something or someone, and say their head is leaning back like this, I like to take this, if I'm going to put creases in, I like to think of them as ellipses that overlap right at that one spot. And that's also the way that I do drapery. And I feel like it's very convincing. And then this will stretch out in here. Okay, and then if I take, and if we tilt it forward, so the head is leaning downward like this, a couple of things will happen, but amongst them, you'll have a creasing that will happen in here. And see how I'm widening the neck out at the base like the root of the tree or the beaker. So that concept is always there. The concept of the eye comes from this. If you look straight down on the shoulders, the neck emerges, like see how I've just drawn an eyeball, right? This could be an eyeball. However, if you look down on the shoulders, the front of the neck is bounded by the clavicle, which then turns out like this, and the back of the neck is bounded by the scapula, bone-wise, right? So we're just looking down the top of this form. And then the arm muscles, the top of the arm muscles, stretch out this way. The back muscles go here, and the pectoralis muscles go here. And so there's a thickening up of all. But underneath it is this very simple eye shape. And so as you're drawing this neck in any view, you can include, you don't have to, depending on what your drawing is needing, but there's this kind of shape that forms the clavicle and in the back the scapula, which would be down here really. Okay. So the only muscles that you really need to know on the neck are this. And they work, we talked about them a little bit in class. They have this effect of a triangle and a triangle. That's like kind of one of the effects that they have. And then there's another effect that they have of, when I was just talking about like the sense of a tree coming down and its roots hitting into this bigger shape, which we can say is a kind of like an eye shape here. Okay, so these muscles come down like that. So on the front of the body, it looks like this. There's the cylinder of the neck, and reaching from the two sides are these long shapes like this, and they come down and they've got these like little hands, and they grab this triangular section right here of the clavicle. Okay, they grab on right there, and you'll see an indentation here, here, and there. And so if you're drawing a neck from the front, you very frequently will be shading like this, and a little bit like this, and a little bit like that, and you might have another little shadow here, another little shadow there, and that becomes fairly convincing. Plus it's a cylinder, so there will be the back of the neck has this going on. As you come down the back of the neck, this is where this shape comes in, that cross shape that we were talking about, like this. And what's going on is there's one muscle over here that is this side, and this side has a muscle here. Okay. The ears are right there. And there's a diamond right in the middle. That's that seventh cervical vertebrae that we've talked about in class. And you have two sides right here, two kind of side muscles, that this is all one muscle that comes down. It connects to the top edge here of the scapula. And it connects in to the spine, and it connects to all these little spine muscles in here, and it connects to the base of the skull. And very frequently at the base of the skull, there's this little triangle shape kind of pointing down. And so for us, for drawing that, what we think of on the back, and then the other thing is this muscle here on this connects all here on the back, and then it connects to just the end of this. It connects right here. And so when you're drawing it, it has a tendency to look like this. And it's fused right there. And you'll have another hole here, another hollow. So these are the important hollows that you'll run across on the front of the body, on the front of the neck. So the last concept that I kind of want to impress on you is that the neck emerges from this kind of eye shape. It's really like, you can almost think of it as just fully passing through. It lives inside of, it passes into that shape. That's a very convincing way to conceive of the neck. And splits here, and here's the trapezius coming and connecting with the muscle, with the bone on the front of the body. Okay? And that's really all I've got for neck drawing. Okay, look forward to seeing you guys in class.